In 2018, two scientists published a paper which argued that chickens are actually much smarter than we give them credit for. They're basically like toddlers in a chicken suit. And it turns out that chickens have been underestimated for years. Like, oh my god, chickens? It's true. Chickens can do some pretty smart stuff. In fact, they can do some things that were previously thought to be exclusively mothers. But first, let me explain why scientists think that chickens are kind of like human toddlers. Chickens can learn to recognize themselves in the mirror. Scientists tested this by putting a dot of paint on the beaks or legs of some chickens, and then letting them look at themselves in the mirror. If they didn't recognize themselves, they'd try to peck at the mirror to get at the other beak or leg with the paint on it. But after a bit of training, chickens started to understand that the bird in the mirror was just another angle of themselves. And at that point, they lost interest in trying to attack their own reflections. Now, most animals don't have the capacity for this kind of So it's kind of like how human toddlers will start to realize at around the same age that they are their own person. And this is why the researchers said that chickens are like human toddlers. They suggested that chickens could have theory of mind, which is the ability to understand that other animals have their own minds with their own thoughts and feelings. The researchers came to this conclusion because they noticed that chickens will act differently depending on whether or not their human caretakers know that they're being sneaky. Like sometimes the chickens would pretend to be interested in something else, when really they were trying to steal food. And they only acted this way when their human caretakers weren't looking. Once they knew that their humans were watching, they stopped trying to be sneaky. This suggests that chickens can at least understand that humans are different from them, and that humans have the capacity to know what they are doing. And chickens aren't the only ones who are good at understanding what other animals know. Some chickens, like this one, can even understand what other chickens know. That's right! Chickens can gossip. They can do this because they have something called a social brain. Basically, their brains are wired to collect and process lots of information about the animals around them. It's a lot like our brains, because humans also have social brains. Humans and chickens also have a lot of the same brain chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin, which plays a role in bonding. And these chemicals might be why chickens can do more than just gossip. They can also develop affection towards their caretakers. If you spend time with your chickens and give them treats and water, they might start to recognize you and actually prefer being around you than other people. Sometimes chickens can become so attached to their favorite humans that they'll be pretty upset when they re-separated. So, yeah, it turns out that chickens do have feelings. They even experience fear and anxiety, which is why some of them suffer from something called cannibalism. When you put a bunch of chickens together, they'll often start killing each other's babies. They do this because baby chicks are pretty defenseless. But as soon as a chick starts to grow feathers, the other chickens leave them alone. Scientists think that this is an example of chickens experiencing fear. And if you raise chickens that are, for example, flightless or have no feathers, they're much more likely to be killed by the other chickens. This is a sign that chickens are capable of feeling at least some of the same emotions that we do. So yeah. It turns out that chickens are basically like human toddlers with their own feelings and all that. But like any toddler, they can also be pretty annoying sometimes. Like chickens can get pretty chatty, especially when they want something from you. And they'll keep talking until you give it to them. They also have pretty complex alarm calls that they use to warn other chickens of approaching danger. And those calls are different depending on what the danger is. For example, there's a specific call for when a hawk is around. And the chickens will also make a slightly different call. If they're asked a human with a dog versus a human with a cat, but maybe the most impressive thing about chickens is that they can remember the faces of up to 100 individual humans and tell them apart. That's right. Chickens are better at recognizing faces than most primates. So next time someone tells you that you're acting like a chicken, just remember that you're actually the one who is acting like a toddler, and that they're the one who is basically a genius.